What's going on? Welcome back to the Agent Success Podcast. My name is Spencer Smock.
I'm J.C Agajanian, and we have the privilege of bringing a teammate today, a friend of ours, Mr. Mike Proctor, who has worn a lot of hats over the years. We'll get into a little bit of background in a minute here, but he's been a producing member of the team. Then he was a sales coach or team. What was the official title?
Sales manager.
Sales manager of the
Same
team.
shit.
And now back to focusing on production again and kicking a lot of people's asses. So, Mike, welcome.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you
man.
for being here today.
No, this is cool. I'm excited for this.
Yeah. So we usually talk a little bit about kind of the road to real estate. Like, how did you find yourself, well, before you were with our team at another brokerage selling homes, and kind of what led up to that?
So unpack that a little bit. Do you want to know how I got into real estate or how I ended up joining this?
Well, I guess sales first, because we know you started selling memberships at the gym. I guess you said paper route was your first sales, right?
So not paper route. I did door-to-door newspaper subscription
There we go.
sales.
Yeah, so give us like
That's a lot harder than throwing out the paper.
Oh, dude, yeah. And it was shady as shit, too.
Was it?
Well, I was like 12 years old, maybe 11. I was young.
We're going way back.
Oh, yeah. It was super not legal. And is this recorded? Shit.
That's okay.
So, yeah, I would get picked up in this like super sketchy white van, and it was me and like 8 other kids, and I was the youngest. They were all like 15, 16, and I was like 11 or 12. And the guy in the van would drop us off at different like apartment complexes or on different blocks, and he'd be like, "All right, I'm gonna come pick you up in an hour," and I would go door to door.
1 hour to pick up subscriptions?
Yeah, and then he would take us to a different block or a different neighborhood or a different apartment complex. And I just rap on the door, and it became very, very clear to me at 11 years old when I was making $300 to $400 a week.
Hello.
That,
And this
I kind of did this okay.
This ain't post, inflation numbers.
These were like $3 that I would make per subscription.
Wow.
I totally remember I'd be like, so I make $3 every time somebody says yes? The guy was like, yeah. And I'm like,
Sick.
so if I do like 100 yeses, I make like $300? In my 11-year-old mind, I'm like, I'll be fucking rich.
Yeah.
Oh, I bought so much bullshit. Like, good times.
With your paper money.
100%. Yeah. Walking home from school, I'd hit up the ice cream man every single day. I get Choco Tacos. I'd buy my friends Choco Tacos. Like, bro.
You were rolling in it.
I was the man at 11 years old.
So not many people get to cut their teeth on door knocking at 11 years old.
For sure.
Like, I mean, there's some people that are selling candy bars, or maybe I don't think most Girl Scout sellers are knocking on doors. You know, they post a sign, and it's a lot easier for them.
I think they're not supposed to.
Oh, really?
I think Girl Scouts are not supposed to go door to door.
Yeah.
That's why they post up at all those places and like
Right.
have a little stand or whatever.
That's a really unique experience at such a young age.
Oh, it was. And what's really neat about it is even at a child's mind, my thought, because I was in a van of other kids doing the same shit, and they would come back and they'd be like, I only got like 3 yeses. I'd get back in the van and be like, yeah, I had somebody slam the door on me. I had some lady yell at me. I had somebody tell me they were going to call the cops on me. Like, I was excited about the no's.
Really?
Because, yeah, I don't know why. Like, nobody ever taught me or
Yeah, we
sat
get
me
coached
down.
on that now.
Now
but
we
as
do.
a kid, I was surprised.
Dude, at 11 years old, like, I guess, thanks, Dad, for yelling at me so much. Like, I was accustomed to it. So,
However much you yell at me, it's not going to be worse than my dad, so bring it on.
yeah, so agent success, yell at your kids.
Yeah.
But
Okay,
yeah,
so
it was
you're
kinda
one of the
weird.
few natives. This was here in San Diego County.
This was in San Diego, yeah.
And then you're going to high school after that.
Well, middle school.
Yeah.
And then high school, and I didn't do anything special in high school. Then after high school, I started working at Bally Total Fitness.
So straight out of high school, you went into the gym world.
Oh, well, yes. My first like real job out of high school was Bally's. And they had a pretty robust sales training program. And I learned a lot about consultative sales when I worked there as a sales consultant, and how to ask people about their why and help people connect their why to the what. And
Instead of just, oh, we have free weights and we have this. This is everything I have. No, what's your goal? How can I get you there?
well, so to
More so.
elaborate on that, like somebody would come in with like a 1 week pass or a 1 day guest pass, and you would ask like, so what brought you in today? And they're like, oh, I just wanted to do some bench press. You're like, okay, well, you could have done push-ups at home, right? Like, what is bench press going to do for you? Why are you here? And then you strip away the layers of the onion, and all of a sudden you realize their wife doesn't want to sleep with them anymore,
Oh, damn.
right? Like,
You came across that
Jeez.
all the time.
Dang.
All the time. Like, we don't go to the gym. We don't want to lose weight or add muscle because we want to wear an extra size shirt or wear one shirt smaller. That's not our why.
Sure.
Our why is because we don't like the human being that's looking at us in the mirror. Our wife
Or the
doesn't
response they're
want
getting.
to be around us anymore, or you have to hold your breath to tie your shoes, or you can't get on the ground and play with your kids anymore. That's your why.
Right.
And
So you learned straight out of high school how to tap into the reason behind the reason.
yes,
That's great.
and how that is such a driving motivational force for helping people make decisions that are in their best interest.
I love this because this is one of the main reasons I like to get a little backstory, because from one story about being super young and then another story about your first real job, like you're pretty much being groomed for real estate sales,
Without question.
like without even knowing it.
No clue.
Yeah.
Yeah, no clue. Now, I've always been good at arguing, I guess you could say. Fun story. I was at a pool party, a family pool party, and we were like debating some stupid topic, and I was having a debate with my stepdad. I was 9 or 10 years old. I was a child, and my debate, my ability to explain my thoughts on the subject far outweighed his ability to do it.
Wow.
And my mom, she was like, Mikey, you're going to be a lawyer. Well, I don't like school. and lawyers have to go to school for a lot. However, that ability to take a position and help people see my point of view is something I've always had. I've always been able to help people see things through my eyes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
So, like,
And
with
that's a natural given gift.
yeah, I guess, maybe I got it from my dad. He was a good bullshitter, but no, man, like taking that innate ability to overcome an objection, if you will, and then learning the benefit of perseverance and that every no will lead to a yes through the door knocking, and then learning consultative sales and helping people connect to their why. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
Like everything I've done has led up to my ability to help people in real estate.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
awesome.
Yeah. No, I dig it. It's fun.
And so you were in the fitness world for a long time.
Yeah, 12 years.
Yeah. I mean, you went, maybe you messed around a little bit after high school, but once you got a real career going, you locked in and you excelled. You moved around to different gyms. You had some high profile clients. You ended up managing a sales team, right?
Yeah, so I started as a sales consultant, and then I worked at, I want to say like 17 different locations here in San Diego. Wow. Then they moved me.
All for 24 hour?
All for 24-hour fitness, yeah. So I worked at 3 different locations for Bally's, and then I moved to 24, and I worked at like 17 for 24-hour fitness. And then I became a general manager for 24-hour fitness, and they moved me to Florida. They moved my family and I out to Florida, and I grand opened 2 different 24-hour fitnesses in Florida, and it was incredible.
I never knew about it. What year was this when you were in Florida?
2008.
Okay.
Yeah, 2008 to 2010. I was out in Florida. we were setting like company records for the amount of new membership sales we were having.
In the middle of a downturn.
Oh, it was bananas.
Wow.
Like it was unreal.
To put it lightly, a downturn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is like we used to talk about how the gym is recession proof. You have the gym, well, health and fitness,
Right.
and toilet paper. Mm-hmm. Regardless of what's happening in the world, people need to go to the gym. People need toilet paper.
I feel like alcohol fits in there too. People are going to drink to celebrate, and they're going to drink to
forget.
Touche.
I guess, people also would go to the gym to forget their problems. I can't think about my life falling down around me if I'm picking up heavy shit.
I mean, think about it, like during COVID. Like I trained jiu-jitsu, and during COVID, so many gyms shut down, and jiu-jitsu schools shut down, karate schools shut down, all these things, they just shut down. Well, my jiu-jitsu school, we taped things up in the windows so you couldn't see in, and then we'd pull into the parking lot, and we'd walk around behind the gym and come in the back door, and we were still having class 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah.
You know, because that's mental, sanity, So that it's funny because like 2008 to 2010, I mean, people lost their houses, lost all their bank accounts, like it was terrible economically.
Their retirement savings.
But what they were
stocks took
doing
it
is they were seeking solace in something controllable. They couldn't control their house. They couldn't
Right.
control the stock market. But you know what? They could control what they look like in the mirror.
Right.
They could control how they feel by going to the gym.
And by showing up
And
every
people
day.
look for that stability, some kind of control in their life. And we provided that at 24 or
Yeah.
at any gym really.
Yeah,
But yeah, so it was a pretty unique time.
So you're opening new gyms. Obviously, are you doing direct sales at that point, or just managing the salespeople?
So I would be the person that they would we called it TOing, turning over.
Okay.
So a sales consultant would get a guest, they'd tour the property, they'd sit down, or the gym, they'd sit down, go over their needs and wants analysis, their background, and then they would present the membership options and try to close. And if the person wasn't closing, they'd go, you know what, let me see if my manager can do anything to help us out. So then they'd come get me, I'd come over, and I'd close it.
Awesome.
So it's kind of like when you don't want to buy the car.
It's
and they're like,
exactly like that.
Here, let me see if somebody else can make a better
Yep.
deal. They
Get
give you
that
like
finance man.
20
And
bucks off.
Then you get the guy that comes over that knows how to close, and all of a sudden you're leaving with a car.
Right.
Well, they'd fumble fuck around on trying to do the membership, and then they couldn't close it, so I'd come over and I'd readdress their why, and I'd ask really hard-nosed questions like, how long have you been thinking about joining? Okay, and how much closer are you to your goal now that you've been thinking about it?
Damn.
Okay.
You're
so-
right up in their grill. Huh?
Fuck yeah. Like, help me understand how not joining is going to help you achieve your goal. Crickets.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I understand what you're saying is it's better for you to join than not join. Yeah? Okay. And $42 a month is too expensive for you to achieve your goal? No? Oh.
Okay.
Well,
Sign
what
here.
card did you want to use?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, like,
And so were the people that were on your team taking these as learning lessons?
there's a reason we were setting records.
Okay.
Because
They were picking up what
they
you were
were
putting out.
watching what I was doing.
Okay.
And they were trying to implement it themselves. And all of a sudden, like, practice makes perfect. And I was getting pulled into TOs much less often because my team, they were just savages. Like,
That's killer.
And because at that point they were making commission. I don't think 24 pays commission anymore to sales consultants. But back then, like, we were making 60, 70 grand a year as a sales consultant for 24 Hour Fitness.
In 08, 9
And just
to 10.
slaying at
Yeah.
60, 70 grand a year for a entry-level sales consultant at a gym.
Yeah.
They were
And that's
killing
like,
it.
I'm assuming you're not doing outbound calls. Everything's inbound. It's just people coming into the gym most of the time, right? And you're just
So-
grabbing them and signing them up.
But you're also getting referrals from people you enroll, and then you call and offer a free week trial to their referrals.
Got you.
So the outbound is not cold. Everything's warm, and it's with a free offer.
which is probably
which is like the most limp way to get into outbound prospecting.
and it probably gets them so comfortable because they're getting yeses like way more than we are now.
Totally.
I mean, we're getting 99 no's to 1 yes.
Yep.
So that's really cool. So you were closing for 10 years. You were like the closer.
Oh,
I guess,
yeah.
Just learn, because that's something that we see with your numbers at work. So like we track everything, and I think you have the highest close rate of anybody on the ISA team. Like it's like 80%, 90% or something like that. This guy closes everything. He won't leave the house until you sign the paperwork.
That is a fact.
Like, so that's something that we love to like lean on this guy about is like like we talk about it all the time. I don't know how Mike does it. He closes everything. So it's interesting to hear that that's where it all came from, was learning it at the gym for so long.
Well, and the ironic thing is you learn, and a lot of what I am and what I do now is derived from the time that I worked at the gym and the amazing salespeople that I worked around. Because I learned a lot from the salespeople that I worked with. And when you had a guest, that was your chance to get a sale. There was no coming back. Like, we all had a joke, the be-back bus. We were the final stop on the be-back bus, and it just never showed up.
Right.
Right? So, like, when somebody was like,
back.
I'll be back Friday, and you're like, okay. Well, stand on the corner and hold your breath. They'll be back sooner or later, right? So you learned that if I want to make this sale, right now is my opportunity. There is no tomorrow, right? So that is still in me. Like when I go to somebody's house for a listing appointment, like I've even texted Kyle about it. Like I don't go for a listing appointment. I go to sign a listing. In my mind, I'm going to sign a listing. I have it printed. I am ready to sign the listing as soon as I walk in the door.
Take that for a mindset shift right there.
Yeah, I'm not going to compete for one. And because I'm on the ISA team, I'm always one of 4 or 5 agents they're interviewing for the job.
Yeah.
I don't care if I'm the first or the 5th. I'm closing you when I sit down with you. Period. I came to sign a listing.
Love that.
And don't get confused with, I'm going to do whatever it takes to sign the listing, like
Oh.
drop my commission to, no, I'm going to sign it, and I'm going to sign it at full pop. Like,
Yeah.
that's the mindset that you go in there with.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2010, you left Florida, came back here.
Yep.
Okay. And then
What drove that? You just want to be back home again?
Family.
Yeah.
You know, I'm born and raised here in San Diego. Florida was great for business, but I am not a fan of living in Florida.
You don't like to be
probably a million
sweaty
reasons.
at
Humid,
all times.
and the people are just rude.
Oh, yeah?
Like, my wife and I, we had just gotten there, and we had 2 little babies, and I'm going through a drive-through, and I'm polite, I'm nice, I guess. So, like, I pull up and I roll the window down, and I was like, "Hey, good morning," and the voice coming through the speaker was, "Yeah,
Man.
hello."
I feel like that's where customer service has devolved to now.
Well, and that's the expectation of service out there.
Yeah.
Is just like, "Yeah,
Wow.
what do you want? Is that it? Great. See you at the window." And that wasn't a one-off.
Yeah.
Like, that was kind of uniform.
Wow.
And when I had to interview the 700 to 800 people that I needed to interview in order to staff the gyms, one of my biggest concerns was the majority of the people that I was interviewing could give a shit about other human beings.
Interesting.
So I had to whittle through quite a lot of people in order to get a staff that was like-minded on delivering for others.
That would smile and give eye contact when someone walked in the door?
Crazy. But yeah, so we weren't real happy out there. So we moved back, and I got in a really bad motorcycle accident. Couldn't use the left side of my body for like 6 months.
Wow, I never knew this.
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Traffic, not off-road?
No, it was traffic.
Yeah.
I got T-boned by a car, and motorcycles don't have airbags; they have air. So I landed on my left side, on my knee, and on my shoulder, and skid. And I was wearing a T-shirt because it was like 70 degrees outside. It was gorgeous. So I had no skin over my arms right here.
Do you at least
like
have a
over
helmet
the
on?
elbows. Oh yeah, I had a
Okay.
helmet on. Yeah.
All right.
I was awake the whole time. Detached my left quadricep tendon from my knee, so I couldn't move my leg. Stage 3 separation on my left shoulder. Like, it was bad. So I spent the next 6 months on the couch. And up to that point in my life, like I had 2 kids, or 3 kids. I had a stepdaughter and then 2 sons that my wife and I had created. And my role was the provider and the protector.
And now you couldn't do either one.
Well, it wasn't so much that I couldn't do either one, because I was getting paid whatever it is, disability or whatever, because I couldn't go to work. I had a huge lawsuit coming. But I had never been daddy. I had never been play with the kids, hang out with the kids. I was 60, 70-hour work weeks. I bring home a paycheck. I make sure bills are paid. And if there's something that's needed, I handle it. If there's a punishment to be divvied out, I deliver it.
Wait till your dad
But
gets
other
home.
than that, yeah, exactly. But it was wait until he gets home, because he's always at work.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I'm laying on a couch, couldn't go upstairs because that's where my bedroom was, and I couldn't move. My kids were feeding me. They were changing the dressings on my bandages. They were reading me I'm going to get
What
emotional.
ages were they?
So this was, actually Sydney was a baby right then too. So I had 3 that were 6 and under, and then I had a 15-year-old.
Wow.
And I had these amazing human beings that were loving on me and like taking care of me. And I told my wife, I was like, babe, I don't want to go back to work. I want to be an at-home dad. Like, this is amazing. And she was like, cool, because my wife's a fucking rock star. And she's like, all right, yeah, whatever. I'm like, all right, cool. So as I healed, I was taking the kids to school. I was taking Sydney to go feed the ducks at the park and like doing the at-home dad thing. And like 2 months into being an at-home dad, I was like, I can totally do more than this, because like, yes, there's a lot of responsibility for being an at-home parent, but it's not that hard. I was completely done with the housekeeping by 10 o'clock every morning. And then we would go to the library, we'd go to the park, we'd go do stuff. By 1 in the afternoon,
You're set.
Yeah. What
And
do I
were
do?
you
Right?
doing like grocery shopping and going
yeah,
all this whole
I cooked, I cleaned, like I did all the stuff that the house maker does.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
Whether it's an at-home mom or an at-home dad.
Not a lot of men have that experience.
Well, I love cooking.
Yeah.
I hate cleaning, but it was a necessary evil, and I understood as the at-home parent that was my role, right? Like wifey, I'd wake up, we'd have breakfast together, she'd go off to work, and then it was me and the littles, and daddy daycare commenced, and it was amazing.
Huh.
And I told Lori, I was like, my wife's name's Lori, I told her, you know, I can do more than this, you know. I think I'm going to get my real estate license. A lot of people that I had worked with in the gym world had graduated to either mortgages or real estate, because there's such a direct correlation in the consultative sales model, right? Because it's not about, I want to buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,600 square foot home. Well, why do you want that? Well, we host family get-togethers and I need a big room for that. Okay, well, I need a big backyard. Well, what is that big backyard going to do for you? Right? What do you not have now that you're looking for? Right? So I can help connect them to their why and whatever. But a lot of people that I had respected from the gym industry had graduated into the real estate world. And I saw a video on Facebook from Chemo, and he had done this really cool video of like places in East County here in San Diego, and it was catchy and it was really cool. And at the very end of the video, he was like, if you are interested in becoming an agent or know someone interested, contact me. So I shot him a DM on Facebook.
And so this was around like 2012?
This was like 2015.
Okay, 2015. Oh yeah, you got
Yeah,
into
this
real
was
estate in
2015.
16. And so if you don't know who Chemo Quantz is, huge guy, literally huge guy here in San Diego.
Yeah.
He's moved to Nashville now. And he was probably doing My Tiny Home at that point on HGTV.
He had just done HGTV.
Yeah, so this guy's 6'9" and super funny. He was like touring tiny homes. It was hilarious. And actually, now fast forward to 2022, his team morphed with ours, or 23. His team actually came over. So so you shot him a DM.
Yeah, so I hit him up and he connected me to his recruiter, and I've set up an appointment. I went in and met with their recruiter, and she was like, do you have your license? I'm like, no. She's like, okay, well, you need to get a license. I'm like, okay. So I went home, got online, got on the test, or got on the, the online courses. 4 months later, I had my license. I walked back into the recruiter. I'm like, now what do I do?
And so was your thought also with real estate, like, I can still be daddy? Like, I can still do everything I've fallen in love with now to being dad and continue to go make some more money.
If I sell 2 or 3 houses a year, that's going to pay for a family vacation. If I sell 2 or 3 houses a year, it'll just help pad the stats a little bit at home. Take a little stress off of Lori.
Was she at Cox at that point? Okay, she's been there for a long time.
She's been there for almost 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah. She loves it there. But
told her to fix my fucking internet.
That's not what she does.
Shit fucking sucks.
So yeah, I got into it with the intention and the expectation that I was still going to be an at-home dad, and I would fill in time and do an open house or sell a house. I didn't even know what was expected of an agent. I just knew, like, if I sold a couple houses, I could make some cash and it'll help the family. But I would be able to own and operate my own schedule. So that's what I did. And what was frustrating is where I joined, they really touted themselves on training and development.
And this was the Quantz team itself?
I didn't join I never joined the team.
The Keller Williams.
Yeah,
okay.
So I joined Keller Williams, and they like just really leaned on how effective and aggressive their training program is to help agents become successful. And I was like, okay, good. Like, I need that. So I went through their training program. It was called Ignite, and that was like the first training, and it was like a month long, Monday through Friday, like 4.5 hours every day. It was intense, but it was all about marketing. It was all about scripting. It was all about all the shit that I already knew how to do. I'm like, I know how to make a phone call. I can go door knock somebody.
It wasn't logistics on how to sign a contract.
It wasn't like, hey, once you get somebody that says yes, this is what you do.
What? Yeah.
No, it was, how do you get somebody to say yes? I'm like, I can get people to say yes, but then what do I do? Right? Like, how do I get to contracts? What is a contract? Right? Like, all of that, like, fundamental, like, this is how you sell a house didn't exist. Didn't. So I was frustrated, and my first year I capped, all self-generated, obviously, because the market center doesn't provide leads, and I was doing something that I learned at 24 Hour Fitness. I would look on the stat sheet, and I would look at sales consultants and sales managers and general managers that were doing better than me in different categories. Well, I would go change my clothes into workout clothes, and I would go shop their stores.
Huh.
And I'd be like, what the fuck are you doing that makes you better than me? Because there's secret sauce. Like, I'm going to learn it, and I'm going to implement it, and I'm going to fucking beat you.
Yeah.
And in
Right?
the gym world, were they like super tight-knit on their playbook? Like, I'm not telling you how to sell. Like,
100%.
So you're like, I need to go undercover.
It was
like,
super
see what they're
competitive.
doing. Okay.
Super competitive.
Which is
in the best of ways.
in real estate is the same thing. Like people, most people are not going to tell you.
Even
like,
within
this
most
is how.
brokerages.
Yeah,
No,
they're like, no,
exactly.
safeguarding
Yeah.
everything.
Which is why what we have going on is very different, and definitely reach out if you want
Yeah,
to
this is an open book,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I would go shop these other stores to learn, like, oh, that's what you do on your tour.
So you were picking up tips undercover.
Oh, 100%. And then I'd come back and I'd teach my team, hey, I learned some good takeaways. Boom, 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 boom. And I started doing that in real estate. Well, Whissel was an independent brokerage at this time, and they had a heavy presence in Santee, which is like where I was coaching wrestling, and I spent a lot of my time in Santee. So I was like, okay, I need to pick up what they're putting down. So I started going to open houses that were being held by Whissel agents. Well, Jody Lynn Kim was holding phenomenal open houses. And I went to like 3 of them over the span of like 2 weeks.
Are you, like, on purpose you followed her, or
No, they were
the
just
ones-
there
happened to
and
be.
available.
Okay.
And Lori loved it because I'd take her and we'd go shop open houses. And I was blown away with how extravagant and how incredible the open houses were. And it wasn't just Jody Lynn. I went to a couple Whissel opens, and they were all bananas. And I was like, okay, I get it. Okay, I'm going to start doing this. Well, Jody Lynn figured out I was an agent because I was going like tank top, board shorts, flip flops.
How did she figure it out?
I don't know. I don't know. She's smart. I'm maybe not that slick. So I get a phone call from Kyle, and he's like, hey, I heard you've been going to some of our open houses. And I was like, yeah, you guys kick ass. Like, I'm taking notes and, kind of doing my own thing, and I'm going to pull some of the stuff you guys are doing. I appreciate what you're doing for the community, and I love the way it's going. And he was like, why don't we go grab something to drink and talk about making your business my business? I didn't know who he was, other than he's a broker, right? Other than being
His name
a broker.
was on the sign.
I had no idea who this dude was. I assumed he was going to be an arrogant prick because he was the broker. So I humored him. I'm like, yeah, we can go grab a coffee. And met with him, went over everything, and I told him that he was full of shit because he broke down to me like what he provides us as agents. And I know what it costs to do all these things, this CRM and this lead generation and Mojo and all this stuff. And I'm like, you're stroking a check for all of that stuff, hoping I'm going to sell houses? I'm like, that's bullshit. Like, you don't do that. And he was like, cool, come to an office meeting, ask anybody you want. So I was like, all right. So I hit up the office meeting the following week, and I didn't know anybody in there. I didn't even tell Kyle I was going to that one. I just showed up and sit in the office, and I kind of elbow a couple people, and I'm like, what do you not like about working here?
That's pretty good.
Right? Like, I want to know the dirt. I want to know the bullshit.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, what are you talking about? Go get a beer, relax. And I was like, this is weird, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is different. So sat down with Lori, and I was like, I think this is a good move. And I made the transition. And what's funny is I sat down with my broker, my existing broker at KW, and I told him, I was like, hey, I spent $25,000 over the last year to cap out of all the business that I have generated. Not one piece of business came because of the broker. Not one piece of business came because of Keller Williams. Help me understand what I got out of this $25,000. Because I have this broker that's just given me a list of things he's going to provide, and he's going to charge me less. I don't see why I would want to stay.
Mm-hmm.
And he could not give me an answer. And I was like, well, respectfully, stood up, shook his hand, thank you, but I'm leaving. You're welcome for 25 grand. High five, you got it, whatever. You know, you got me.
Yeah.
And then I shifted over and been with Kyle since.
That was like 2018, 2019?
It was 2017.
Okay. So you were only K-Dub
I was
for
at
like
Keller
a year.
Williams for a year.
And then found Whissel.
And then Kyle found me and brought me over.
Nice.
Yeah.
So at the time, though, to my understanding, Keller Williams was like the training. Because I actually joined Keller Williams for a
100%.
small time. They were the training. They provided everything that the agents needed. What was the transition like coming over to what you thought was like, oh, I've got everything at Keller Williams, realizing, oh, no, I don't.
Well, so here's the thing, like
the switch.
Let me clarify because of my background, I was very comfortable and very versed in role play. Very comfortable, very versed in the consultation aspect of what we do. I was very okay with making phone calls and just scripting off the top of my head. I was super comfortable in what most agents are not comfortable with.
Or had no idea what to do.
You see what I'm
It's all
saying?
brand
So
new,
like,
yeah.
there is a ton of value in the training that they provide in that realm, but it wasn't valuable to me. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
You had
I'm not
already
like
received
trying to
that training.
shit on what their training was because it was solid for what it was, but it wasn't what I needed. I needed to be around people that were more advanced, that were production focused, and in a more competitive environment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for
okay.
sure.
Totally.
So, and that like I don't want to ever speak poorly of anybody because there was a ton of value in what they were teaching at the 101 level.
Yeah, it's like when a gifted kid is in school and they're like, okay, yeah, you're teaching this stuff and it's good, but I already know this. Like,
Yeah.
skip me up a couple grades. I need
exactly
to be in fifth,
right?
not
Like
second.
they start you at 101. I needed to be like 301, right? And Kyle's operating at like 1101.
Yeah.
Right? So it was like, oh, okay, cool. Now I can get challenged. Now I can get, pushed. And I'm amongst people like you that are fucking killing it. That I'm like, okay, if you can do that, that means I can do that.
100%.
Right? And like at the time, Steve Werner was
I've
the
told
man.
Spencer about how much
Steve
of a
was
killer
just
he was. Yeah.
thumping it. And he's the first person I ever personally knew that was making more than $500,000. And I was like, wow.
in real estate or in general?
In real estate.
Okay,
In
okay.
real estate. Well, maybe even in general.
Maybe in general.
I mean, I might have known some people at the gym that were making more than that, but not publicly making more
Yeah.
than that. So, yeah, that's the thing, man, is like once you surround yourself with a group of motivated, productive, hungry individuals, all of a sudden your bar changes, right? Like that whole like, look at the 5 people you spend the most time with, and that's going to be your average of
Absolutely.
everything. That's going to be your average of everything.
That's
type
one of the
car,
reasons
type
I-
of house,
Yep.
what's in your bank account, your level of hygiene, your level of fitness. The 5 people around you are going to set your average.
That's one of the main reasons I came to Whissel. I was like,
It's so
Yeah.
fucking powerful.
absolutely.
So I'm sorry, I got off topic.
No, this is what we love doing. So you came to Whissel 2017. So 2016, how many deals did you do?
9.
Ish. Okay. 2017, you transitioned over. Did you have a better year or a worse year?
12. My
12.
first year with Whissel was 12.
Okay. Made more money,
Oh yeah.
paid less,
Oh yeah.
had more support.
And way more fun. Like coming into
The
the,
culture
office.
we have.
It's-
Holy shit!
yeah.
Like
It's not a terrible place to be.
going to the office at Keller Williams, it was a morgue. And the people that were at the office were the ones that weren't doing any business, and all they wanted to do was bitch and complain about the market. And bitch and complain about how other agents got preferential treatment and it's not fair and just this. And then I'd come into the office at Whissel, and it was just like, got another listing, bitch, what you got? And I'm like, all right, yeah, let's go. Right? Like, I walk in the office and I hear people on the phones and I
smacking gongs for appointments.
Totally, like it is a vibe, right? And it was so synergistic. So it was like you didn't have a choice other than to rise, right? Like the culture, you'd either get on board or get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Were the core values established at that point
No.
for Whissel? Okay.
Absolutely
So
not.
they were there in the back of everybody's mind.
Without question.
So when did those get instilled? Because what you're just saying is totally grow or die. Like that is exactly like you're gonna grow here or you're not gonna be here.
Yeah.
And
Wither or
especially like
bloom.
that now. So when did that kind of come to be?
I want to say 18 or 19. Is that when they did the core values?
Probably 19. It was a topic of conversation when I was the sales manager. And when I was transitioning out of being a sales manager, it was probably 2019.
End of, no, it would be 20 because when I joined, you were just getting out of being the sales manager. Okay. When I joined in mid-20. It was probably...
Oh, okay. So, I've got 19 and 20 mixed up.
End of 19, beginning of 20,
because
probably.
it was like September of 20 that I told Kyle, like, hey, I see the writing on the wall, and I'm making you way more money than I'm making me.
And then I came October. Yeah, so it was right then.
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
So, I was just kind of like thinking about some lessons that somebody who maybe isn't having the success they want right now could pick up just up until this point. And I mean, I'm hearing skills, like, because that's a main theme from childhood through is learning sales skills and then understanding how to dig deeper and truly look to help someone accomplish their goal. And then another lesson I've heard through the KW experience is like knowing what you need and not necessarily what everybody else needs in order to move to the next level. Like some people may need a coach, some people may just need to be in a better environment, some people may need to go back and they're really no good on the phone, like understanding where you need to grow. Can you think of anything else that you might want to throw out as a solid like lesson for someone to get the next level? They're maybe spinning their wheels and they want to get some traction and really start making some moves.
So the biggest lesson that resonates in my mind is it's an adage. And in life, you have a choice. Ego or money. You cannot have both. And if you really incorporate that into everything that you do, you will find that you allow, and I mean this with all the love in my heart, you allow ego to dictate so much of your life, and it holds you back from growth.
Yeah.
And where I see this the most in real estate, but in sales in general, is when people don't want to role play. Because they are protecting their ego. Right? And you may be thinking to yourself like, well, I'm not great at role play, so therefore I don't have any ego about it. Quite the opposite. You have an ego of not looking stupid.
Yeah.
You have an ego of protecting yourself from shame and potential, judgment. Embarrassment. So you choose to keep your ego and not grow.
I want to learn from the more experienced agents.
I just want to hear you guys.
Yeah.
Right? Like, listen to a lacrosse game and then tell me how good you are at lacrosse.
So
for real, like listen to a hockey game.
Yeah.
And then tell me how fucking good you are at a slap shot.
Listen to a pop star and try and sing that song.
Yeah.
That's interesting though, because when you said ego, I automatically thought, and you said role play. No, I'm good at role play. I don't need to do it. That's immediately what I thought. It's like,
Yep.
oh, I'm good at it. I never even thought of like
The other way?
the other way of like, oh shit,
I need to protect myself.
I don't want J.C. to tell me I fucking suck.
Yep.
Like, wow, I never even thought about that. So turning it on its head, I know a lot more people that need role play than.
Well, that's the most frustrating thing in the
they
planet to me is I'll jump on, because we have role play every day, and I jump on 3 to 5 times a week, just depending on what I've got going on in the morning. because I'm constantly trying to perfect my craft. And I will get onto a role play, and as soon as I pop into the room, 1 or 2 people will leave.
Really?
Yep.
Because
Yep.
you're up in their grill with the feedback?
Because I will let you know I'm not nice about it. And it's not because I want to be mean, it's because I give a shit about you improving.
Yeah.
Right? And the same is
Medicine doesn't taste good.
no, and it shouldn't. Right? The lessons we remember are the ones that fucking sting.
Yeah.
So you got to make it sting. If you didn't do a good job, right? Like, I'm not going to pat you on the back and be like, oh, good try, Tiger. No. You know, I'm not going to have the kid that goes to American Idol and thinks he's a good singer.
Yeah, there's no
And then he's a
participation.
laughing stock in the opening part.
Exactly. Right? Like, what good comes from that? Totally. So I give appropriate feedback. And if you're dog shit, I'm going to let you know, like, that's not going to work. Right? Like, I know what works. It's worked for me. I'm going to tell you if it doesn't work, and you need to not have an ego about it.
Yeah.
And to the people that just heard that and were like, oh, well, I'm single agent, I don't have role play, I don't have anybody. There are so many Facebook groups. Find somebody in your brokerage, go to an open house and say, hey, I want to get better. Can we do role play?
And in the
Call
past-
me, I'll role play. It doesn't matter.
And our Whissel role plays have been open to the public in the past for other agents.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's probably still fine today if you wanted to jump on there. Like, if you really want it that bad, we got killers that'll eat you up.
And that's the point of it, is once you identify, you know what, I do want
To improve.
success.
Yeah.
Whatever that means for you, right? Like, I got into this with the expectation of selling 2 or 3 houses a year to maybe pay for a vacation.
Yeah.
And now I'm doing 10 times, 20 times that. And I still get to pick my kids up from school and take them to school and coach
And
wrestling.
spend 4 months a year coaching wrestling.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right? So it's like-
full-time work.
Why not live the life you want, but have the success you fucking deserve, right? And if in your mind you have that shame, blame, justification game going on, right, where you're justifying why other people are more successful than you. Oh, well, JC, you've done this for 20 years. That makes it okay for him to do more business than me. No. That's me protecting my ego, right? If
Tell
I'm
that
like,
to Adrian, who did it for 1 year and then kicked everyone's ass.
or Evan, right? Evan
Evan.
Wagley crushing it
Yeah.
right now. Like,
Leading huddle saying,
they're
hey, you're not
not-
making your calls.
Oh, and working in the middle of the night, catching people smuggling drugs into
Over the
US.
border on boats.
you want to talk about somebody that doesn't have ego? It's that guy.
Yeah.
Right? Where
100%.
And
he's
he
not-
could have it, because he's kind of a badass.
But see, again, you're looking at ego as a stance of power,
Right.
not of protection.
Yeah.
Right? Most people's ego, it's their feelings.
Yeah.
And they protect their ego because then they feel better about themselves. Right? It's not, I'm the biggest, baddest dude in the room. That is ego, but most ego shows the other way. And that's where I'm talking about the thought process of shame, blame, and justification. Because if you can go, wait, I'm justifying why they're doing more than me. And then you go, you know what? If they can do it, I can do it. And you take that stance of, I'm going to go learn what they're doing, which means you have to make yourself vulnerable,
Yep.
right? And when you show vulnerability, you're getting rid of ego. And you accept the fact and you acknowledge the fact that you're not as good as someone else at something simply because they're just better right now. But they're not better because they're innately better. They're doing something you can learn and implement.
In most cases, that's the case. Yeah.
You know what I love
go
about...
learn and implement, and all of a sudden, you're going to get better.
Yeah.
You know what I love about you bringing this up is I'm just now, like, thinking of conversations I've had with some agents, like, that I'm trying to help out, and it seems like every time I give a piece of advice, there's always like a, well, I'm gonna do it this way, or like they tweak it a little bit, and I'm just starting to think, like, that's their ego inside, like, oh, I need to like make this, that I knew that, or I could make that better.
Yep.
And it's something that I need to now, if I want to help people, learn how to disarm or even maybe just call out and be like, hey, listen, like, Mike says your ego sucks. Like, take it down a notch.
So like I'm doing a class later today for the new agents on Whissel, and this is something I tell them. I say, look, we're all sitting in this room right now because we've already acknowledged that Kyle does this better than us. Can we all agree on that?
Yeah.
Okay. And we can also acknowledge that Kyle has created a step-by-step on how to do everything. You want to do an open house? There's a piece of paper with 13 steps. Do 13 steps and you'll do open houses like Kyle, which means you're also going to get a result like Kyle. If you allow your ego to get involved, you'll do step 1, step 4, step 7, but this other stuff, I'm not going to do that. Well, you chose ego, not money.
Dude, I'm connecting the dots right now because I'm listening to a book that is just hyper-focused on resistance and talking about the things that allow us to cop out and not push through barriers and all kinds of different stuff. I mean, this guy's coming from a writer's perspective, so having to put in the time and get pages done every day, but it applies to all businesses,
Totally.
to weight loss, to whatever it is you're trying to do. And I feel like ego is the enabler to resistance.
100%.
What book is it?
I have to look it up.
Okay, and then, you know what? I'll be vulnerable and say, that happened this morning, and he called me on my shit.
It's called The War of Art.
The War of Art. That happened this morning, and he called me on it. I've been texting him every morning because I'm like trying to make sure I'm up at 6 every morning. This guy's up at 4:45, something like that. So I'm texting him every morning. And for the past week, I've hit it every day. I text him this morning at 5:30, hey, I'm up. 30 minutes later, I was like, good chance I fall back asleep though. My sinuses are hurting, whatever. He doesn't text me back. He sends me like some gif, like, you want to train today, something. I call him at 9 and I'm like, hey, what are you wearing? So, you know, I don't match you today. He's like, you just getting ready? He's like, why'd you go back to bed? And he called me on my shit and I'm like, oh, my sinuses, whatever. And he's like, that's bullshit.
Yep.
Like, that is a bullshit excuse. You wanted to go back to bed. And yeah, like, I'm thinking now, that was ego. I could have gotten up, taken the hot
And
shower I took,
resistance.
and
It's
been
both.
fine.
Yeah.
It leads.
100%.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
And that is, so you, big full circle, longest answer ever, but you asked if there's one lesson that I would like for everybody watching this to take away is be aware of your ego and don't allow it to to keep you from being successful, because that is all it's there for. It creates a ceiling and it keeps you in a safe little box that you're accustomed to. And once you get rid of your ego, there is no ceiling, and you will find where your threshold really is.
Yeah, that's great.
So, one more thing I really want to talk about, and this is something that, let's see, I think the first time I ever heard you talk about NLP was maybe like the beginning of 2021. And the first one you did on it, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, what? This is dumb. Like, this is not real, whatever. And I was, now thinking on
Skeptical.
it, probably ego was, when I first came to Whissel, I was kind of a spaz. Like, there was a lot of things that I'm now realizing have changed because of Whissel. The next time you did that training, because you did it every couple months, I really took it and was like, wow, this is like next level, almost Jedi mind trick kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And since then, I've made sure I came to every single time that you've done it. It's the same presentation every time I come to it. And I've also, on my own, like went out and tried to do some trainings and some YouTube videos and whatnot on NLP. No one has ever explained it to me the same way you have and given me the same like scenarios. We role played it in one of your meetings. It was me and you role played it, and I tried my best to like not let you win, and I couldn't. So I'd love for you to like just give like a brief NLP, what it is, maybe an example.
So there's an awful lot to unpack there.
Right.
So first of all, that's really nice of you to say. I appreciate the kind words. NLP, for everybody paying attention, it's neuro-linguistic programming. And it is literally Jedi mind tricks. the human subconscious has a very specific way that it interprets, analyzes, and digests communication. NLP speaks directly to your subconscious the way that it wants to be spoken to. And if you've ever seen the movie like Inception, NLP gives you the opportunity to implant thoughts, ideas, and opinions and sway someone's decision making at an unconscious, subliminal level. So with that being said, as you learn NLP, please use your powers for good. Because there is an awful lot of responsibility in utilization of NLP, and something that I always keep mindful is when I am in a conversation with a client and we're talking about their wants, their needs, their motivations, that's when I utilize NLP to help them progress towards their goal.
And not like make a decision that's going to make you the most money or
precisely.
do
That's
something
exactly what
benefit
I
you.
mean.
As
It's
long
like,
as you're
use this
using
for good.
Right.
So NLP, it is a there's so many different layers to it. At a very fundamental level, it's understanding human communication and taking the responsibility of communicating with the person on the other side of the table on the frequency and on the level that they communicate. Because so many people in this world don't understand that they are in control of communication.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
We all have a certain cadence to the way we speak. We have a speed in which that we speak. We have mannerisms and body language that are akin to us. Well, if we aren't cognizant, if we're not top of mind with observing someone else's mannerisms, someone else's cadence, someone else's rate of speech, we are doing ourselves a disservice when it comes to building rapport.
And especially as a salesperson, but not even that. Just if you want to make friends with someone,
if you care,
knowing their body language and cadence.
That's my point, is if you care enough about someone else that you want them to feel comfortable, you mirror them.
Right.
And I don't mean in an awkward way, right? But, like, oh, you moved your left hand. I moved my left hand. Now you moved your right hand, right? Like,
it's just the different style you're going to talk to somebody. Because you're going to talk to Kyle, who is, if you use the DISC profile, high D, give me the info right now,
yep.
Like, go. You're going to talk to him versus Kevin Waters far differently.
Yes.
Who is a high C, wants to see every data point, like, let me have time to discuss.
Yep.
Think about it. So, obviously, there's a lot that goes into it. Tell us, like, the 3 things that go into NLP, as in the communication style, and what you look for, because there's certain things that are more important than others, right?
So understanding how the human mind interprets communication is incredibly important. And you can look this up online, and there's different percentages, but in general, they're going to follow this kind of guideline. Around 55% of your unconscious interpretation of communication comes from physical body language, right? So like when I sit forward, I'm going to show interest. If I cross my arms, I could show disinterest,
offensive,
right? The way that I cross my legs, like I'm talking to you, so my legs pointed to you, right? If I'm going to talk to you, I'm going to shift and my body's going to face you.
What about like
so
one of these?
That is going to be really adorable, right? So understanding social cues with body language. And again, all of this is you taking the responsibility of it, right? Because it's not their responsibility to understand what you're trying to communicate.
Right. Especially if they're not even aware of what NLP is.
And nobody is.
Yeah.
Most people aren't.
Yeah.
So understand your physicality is going to play the largest role in your ability to connect and communicate with somebody appropriately.
And now another layer of importance to the physical attribute of this that I see, especially with you, is like, you are a large, if I just look at you, intimidating guy. I know that you're a big teddy bear. I know you're not going to hurt a fly. But if somebody doesn't know that and you just go into a meeting and they're like, oh my God, this guy's fucking huge, it's even harder for you. So it's even more important for somebody like that to know how to use this properly, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Without question.
So physical is the biggest part of it, mirroring what they're doing, leaning in, being interested, things like that. What comes next? What is the second most important
Tonality.
thing? Okay.
Right, so voice inflection, your upswings or downswings, right? The rate that you speak, your cadence of speech. You want to key in on theirs, right? A perfect example is if you ask somebody in a sales scenario, you sit down and you talk to somebody and the salesperson's talking a lot faster than you and they're trying to pull this and do that. What are your thoughts about that person because they're speaking faster than you?
Sleazy, trying to get something over on me.
Yep.
What's in the fine print of your speech?
Yep.
Which I have been so guilty of and started realizing that after like one of the first, this guy had been telling me for a long time, like, slow down.
Yeah.
But I really started like understanding, oh, like this is not just they can't understand what I'm saying. Like it goes
they don't
deeper.
trust me.
Right. And so
at an unconscious level, you are no longer trustworthy.
So
you're trying to get something over on
I
you.
attribute a lot of my sales skills to directly like learning from you. Slow down. Like you don't have to be.
But it's a case by case, because if you're in New York and you're talking like you're from the South, they're going to think you're stupid.
That's exactly what my point was going to be. So so George Carlin does an amazing stand-up. Rest his soul, he's hilarious. But he talks about in his stand-up, he goes, have you ever noticed you drive the perfect speed? Everybody else are idiots and assholes, right? So somebody blows by you, you're like, asshole! You blow by somebody else, you idiot! But you drive the perfect speed.
Right.
Our brain is designed that way. So if somebody speaks faster than you, they're not trustworthy. They're trying to get something over on you. If they speak slower than you, okay, this kid is dumb.
Okay.
Like that is an innate, unconscious thought bias. We don't control it.
Mm-hmm. I
Even
disagree.
at a conscious level, we don't control the feeling of come on, Junior.
Yeah.
Right? Like it just happens. Now, are there individual people that won't feel that way? Yes. Is NLP like a broad stroke of how human psychology and communication work? Yes. So we do go off of broad stroke here.
Yeah.
But if I'm speaking to someone and they're talking faster than me, I am going to adjust my speech pattern to match and mirror them. The most beautiful thing is once you get it, once you get on par and you've built rapport and you start connecting, you can slow your speech down and they'll slow theirs down. And you'll know that you've got the connection because as you're talking, you could like put your hand up to your face, they're going to put their hand up to their face. And that's when you know on an unconscious level, I've got you.
So what you're telling me is, because I do drive the perfect speed at all times, and he drives like a bat out of hell, if I get in front of him...
And I'm sure he thinks he drives the perfect speed, and you drive like old people.
So if I get in front of him and I slow down, he might slow down a little bit, is what you're telling me. Try to train him to not drive 100 miles per hour at all times.
So you're talking about a physical activity. I'm talking about communication. Very, very different.
So... tonality, now, the upswings and downswings.
Yes.
There are times to use each thing.
Yes.
Give me the brief upswing versus downswing, what it means, and when to use it.
Somewhere in human evolution, we were taught that in order for us to ask a question, it needs to come up. Does that make sense?
What will that do for you?
Right? Are you with me? right? Like that upswing.
It
at
gives
the
a
end.
sense of interest and
Almost
true,
like we need help.
I think it might
a-
have like something because your voice goes literally up in pitch too.
Yeah.
I think it maybe is something like putting yourself in a kid's position where you're getting help from someone.
That's where my thought process comes from. It. The more I've role played it and
on like a subconscious level.
ask people like, what does this mean to you? How does this affect you? What does this make you feel for me? The constant feedback I have gotten is, it sounds like you're lesser.
Parent
it sounds
child.
like it sounds like you're
And the
subordinate.
downswing is the parent's
It's a
voice.
command.
Because even if there's no, like, if it's a question or a demand or a statement, the parent will be like, Spencer, like it's coming down.
Yep.
You know, like we're going to come with authority with that as the parent, and the kid is asking,
So it's like a dominant subordinate
Right.
position.
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I frame it that way because it's not necessarily parent-child. It's subordinate. It's lesser of importance and in need of help with that upswing. And there is opportunity there for people to use an upswing to get I would call it like ego someone into responding, because they'll feel as though they are the dominant. Where if I am the one taking control of the conversation and I am more asking for affirmation to the question as opposed to genuinely asking for you to answer it, where, you know, I could say, are you with me? And I'm asking like in a subordinate position, please answer me.
Yeah.
Where I could say, so are you with me?
It's like,
Now I'm commanding
no,
you.
what? No, I'm not with you. Like, this is uncomfortable.
Well,
Yeah.
the
way.
downswing is more of a command,
Right.
where the upswing is much more of a question.
And so you feel that you get far different answers to the exact same question just by an upswing versus a downswing.
Not necessarily a different answer. I am having them feel a different way about our
Okay.
relationship.
Got it.
Right?
So you might,
Like, this is not surface level.
Yeah.
This is unconsciously, I am making you feel you are subordinate, or I'm making you feel that you are dominant
got it.
by the way that I ask that question.
And you can also use the same tonality with like an either or question, and you throw the upswing on the thing you don't like,
100%.
and then, or would you, and then you come down with it.
And that is the crux of NLP, is understanding this is how I can manipulate the thought process
Yeah.
towards your goal. Right?
Yep.
Like, do you feel like waiting for rates to come down is the right choice? Or do you think going to see the house today wouldn't be in your best interest?
Solid example.
Right, like-
yeah.
Bam.
And
And
where-
all of a sudden they're going to be like, yeah, that does seem kind of a weak option. We should do that.
Yeah.
So give me some of the examples, because listing appointments is where, sorry. What'd you call it again?
Signing listing paperwork.
Signing listing paperwork is where you excel. Like that to me, that's just I don't want to go against Mike in a listing appointment. I don't. Give me some of the lines that have derived from learning NLP that help you get through, because a lot of it is getting yeses coming out of their mouth when. Not that it matters that they say yes, but just training that yes comes out. This is
So it's
the
really
roadmap.
difficult to do what you're asking for, because NLP isn't scripted.
right.
And what you're asking for is scripted questions that I ask in a listing presentation.
And not
which
necessarily
I
like
don't, because what I do is it's conversational, right? So like we could literally be talking about them moving to Arizona, right? Because I feel the most powerful aspect of my ability to close people is my ability to help connect them to their why, and connect their why to selling their house.
Got it.
Right? Because like I have to bridge those gaps. Because if it's just I want to sell your house, they're like, well, so does that person and that person and that person. And if we're all the same, then it boils down to, well, if you're all the same, which one charges me the least? I'll take that piece of shit agent, right? And that's not what I go in to do.
And it's not in their best interest.
Yeah.
Well, and that obviously that's the thing is like, if I'm walking in and I'm like everyone else and I focus on the same shit that everybody else does, we're all the same. But I don't. I come in and I'm talking to them about, like, after the sale. I'm talking to them about their expectations of during the sale. Right? Like, it's not about the listing. I've got the listing. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about what your expectations are of me as your agent. Right? There's a lot of assumptive conversation where I'm already your listing agent. So help me understand what your expectations are from me when it comes to communication. Do you prefer texts, phone calls, emails? Help me be a better agent for you.
Right, and those are some of the lines I guess I should have explained a little better. Some of the examples of things you've used that you realize now are like, you are getting to their subconscious because you're asking them, even asking them their preferred method of communication.
Yeah.
Subconsciously is making them more comfortable, like, fuck, I hate phone calls. Yeah. And subconsciously they're like, oh, he'll text me? Yeah. Great.
Well, and it's funny because so often in listing presentations, because I'm digging deeper, because I'm having real conversations and it's not just this are the comparables, right? Like, no, there's genuine conversation happening, and I really do want to help this person. I get them to say things like, oh, nobody's asked me that.
You get something like that, you're in a good spot.
Whenever I have somebody identify that I'm doing something different than anybody else they've talked to.
You name it?
I fucking point it out.
Yeah. You got to put a name on it.
But what I do is I do it in such a way that makes them think what I will ask them is I'll say, wow, I wonder what else they should have been asking you that I've already done.
Solid.
Just wedge between them and me.
Yeah.
No, there's no competition. It doesn't even matter.
That's my point.
They're going to do it for 1%.
As soon as they show that I'm now differentiating myself from the other people, I ask them the question, interesting, because this is just what I do. What else do you think they aren't doing that I'm just going to naturally do?
And it's more important on a personal level to them,
yeah,
rather than like, oh, I do drone photos and they don't. Oh, fucking who cares?
No.
Like the actual
But
listing
asking
itself.
the question instead of saying that's because I'm different.
No.
Yeah.
No, I want them to think
it's
about
so much more powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what happens in our own mind when left to its own devices is so much more powerful than when somebody just tells you something.
100%.
Right? That's
Telling
why people are
ain't
afraid of
selling.
the dark. Literally, that is why people are afraid of the dark. Because you don't know what's there, but your mind has all kinds of ideas on what's there. And what's really there is nothing.
And so so to put that in perspective, the other agent, that's the dark. Like,
yes.
What are they going to do? Are they going to do my paperwork right? Are they going to put all the APN numbers on my listing for all these pieces of land? Like, what are they going to do? Oh, but I can go just turn a light switch on, and that's Mike. Light switch is on. Okay, Mike. I'm not afraid anymore.
I turned the light switch on for them.
Yeah, exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like, wow, you didn't even have to ask me for this. What else do you think you won't ever have to ask me for that you'll never get from them? And then just shut up and let that mind go.
So powerful.
That's where I wedge away from other people.
So powerful.
Nuggets, people. Nuggets.
And so last part of NLP is vernacular.
The actual word choice.
And not that it's unimportant, but the smallest portion of it is vernacular to most people. Some people it probably is important.
No, communication, that's what I said, is you can find different percentages, but it's usually around like 55, 45 is kind of the breakdown you're going to find.
So hear what he said. 5% of the words you choose to say are actually making an impact.
Yes.
55%
is your
body.
physicality, your body language.
You can be a dummy and still get 90% of the or 95% of the communication
right.
right.
Yeah.
And here's the biggest takeaway that I've had from word selection. I'm very well read. I probably read 2 or 3 books a month. I love words. I love words. My sister got me a peel-off calendar, and it was a word of the day. Right?
And was the goal to like try to insert that word every day?
No,
for the
it was
calendar?
just to
Okay,
know the words.
know the
It was just to know the words. It was pretty cool. So I feel as though I have quite an expanded vernacular. The words that I use in my day-to-day conversations are not what most people use in their day-to-day
And
conversations.
to those people that don't know what vernacular is, it means vocabulary, essentially.
Okay. So it's actual word usage. Vocabulary is word knowledge.
I guess.
But anyway, I digress.
There we go.
So what I've taken away is you want to mirror and match the type of words the other person you're communicating with is using.
Mm-hmm.
And even in a listing presentation, I can't tell you how many times I've sat down and the seller is like, oh, these fucking dogs.
I was just about to bring up cursing.
So I was like, okay,
That's a perfect
so now I
example.
can say fuck.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like, fuck this and fuck that and fuck you.
And fuck those dogs.
Right?
Like,
yeah. But I will absolutely go, shit, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm going to let them know, like, we are simpatico. We are together. We use the same words. We speak the same. Our body language matches. And in their mind, they're like, okay, you're in my tribe.
I'm working with my friend,
Yeah.
not my
He's
agent.
like me.
Yes, because what this all boils down to is back in the hunter-gatherer times, right? Like you had tribe A, and then 2 miles away was tribe B, and then 2 miles away was tribe C. They didn't communicate. They all spoke different languages. They hunted different ways. They all did things their own way. And they knew by the way that you handled yourself, the way that you spoke, the way that you interacted, if you were in tribe B or in tribe A or tribe C. And if they interacted with one another, it was danger.
You're
So
not like me.
If you don't act like me, speak like me, sound like me, you are dangerous to me. Think the Croods, right? Like outside the cave, danger,
That
right?
was such a fun movie.
Love it, right? Nicolas Cage is a gem. And he's an American freaking legend. I love that guy. But anyway, that's real. That's visceral. That is in our DNA. So when we come across somebody that doesn't physically act the way we do, that doesn't speak the same way that we do, and doesn't use the same words that we do, our DNA at an unconscious level is going, you're dangerous. I can't trust you.
And on a conscious level, you're kind of turned off, you're kind of indifferent, kind
Yeah.
of don't like that guy.
Yep.
Don't know what it is, but you're not vibing with him.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
And that is on a conscious level. You're like, yeah, I'm just not vibing with him.
Yeah.
Which is
have
something you
this-
think maybe I can get over it. Maybe talking to Mike enough. If that is true, it's never going to happen.
There are
You're never
people
going to
that
like
just
them.
don't click. And it's because neither of you have taken the responsibility to own the connection.
Bridge the gap.
And this is the point. It is our responsibility. You're watching this podcast right now because you give a shit about getting better. You're looking for a way to become more successful. Take the responsibility of communication. It's not their responsibility to identify that you guys speak differently. They don't know any better. They're not watching this podcast. You are. So you take the responsibility and go, okay, you talk faster, I'm going to speed up. Ooh, you have a lot of upswings. I'll hit with some upswings, but I'll bring it into downswings when I need you to do what I want you to do. Right? Oh, you say fuck. You don't ever curse. I'm going to adjust my vernacular, the words I use,
Chill.
to match you. Right? And all of a sudden, your connections and communication with everybody, not just business, but with everybody, will improve. And all of a sudden, you're going to start hearing a lot more yeses and get a lot less pushback because people will see you as part of their tribe. And it's fucking beautiful.
Mic drop.
Mic drop.
It's literally one of the most impressive things, like hearing it. Like, hearing it now when it's a little less like in front of the class, like got to be a little. Mike is always Mike, but like hearing it now in a more casual setting, like it's just so powerful.
And it crosses over. This helps with your wife or husband. This helps with your kids, with friends. It's not just in sales, like
without
everything.
Yeah.
Everything. You want a good deal on a car? Use NLP.
Chris Voss in Never Split the Difference talks about using NLP on his kids to get him to do what he wants them to do.
I use it with my kids incessantly.
Yeah.
Right? And there's something so powerful about being able to utilize NLP and appropriate negotiation tactics in personal relationships just to find an amenable end to the struggle. Whether it's the kids not doing their chores or you and your wife disagreeing on the restaurant you want to go to, right? Like simple, trivial stuff that once you understand how this really does work, you can then utilize it to just cut through the bullshit and stop the squabbling and stop the arguments. And again, that's why I say use this for good, right? Use this for an amenable ends, not just to always get your way.
What that reminds me of is like people like JC and like you and your wife. JC doesn't really argue with his wife very much.
Yeah.
You don't and
I don't.
I think that a lot of that comes with time. It like is training your subconscious to be a little closer, but you can speed it up by just wanting that for yourself.
Well, there's so much freedom once you identify they don't know how to do this communication stuff. Whoever they is, whether it's your spouse, your kid, your best friend, the client you're trying to help sign a listing with, it doesn't matter. Fill in the blank. They don't know. And that's not their fault.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know, therefore I can fix this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not their responsibility to adjust their communication style. They don't know any better, right?
And they haven't been practicing it over and over like we have.
Exactly.
That's where the role play comes in.
Well, and that's the thing is when I identify like my wife is having a shit day and she's irritable or whatever, like I know better than to walk in and poke the bear. You know what I mean? Or like if she wants to fire up and draw the line in the sand on something, I'm aware like, is this worth fighting over? Like, cool, I'll stay on this side of the line. High five. Let's go have dinner. Right? Like, life's good. I put my ego away. I don't need to win this fight. Right? And there are times where I'm like, I don't think that's where the line should be. Let's talk about that line. And I will come into it and mirror and match and try to adjust things the way that I feel they should be adjusted. And more often than not, because I don't do it with every single conflict, without, because sometimes it's like, no, and I'm like, okay, cool, whatever, and then there'll be like, no, and I'm like, well, let's unpack that a little bit. Help me understand why that's where the line is.
Yeah.
And people acquiesce much better that way.
And in the marital construct, it's good to throw in you're right once in a while. That goes a long way.
Yep.
Dude, this is making me think so much on like stupid arguments me and Mariah have had that are like, that was just because we weren't on the same wavelength. I didn't feel like she was in my tribe, and I could agree with some of the shit she said, but I wanted to be defensive.
The actual issue is not the argument. It's more about the interaction.
The connection.
And so now it's just like, again, so important for me to go unpack this, say, Mike was right, again, like, I've got couples therapy on Friday.
I'll bill
How
you
am I
later.
going to think about this? Do you take Anthem Blue Cross?
Sure, let's get it.
Okay.
I don't even know what that means.
My insurance. Dude, this was potentially my favorite podcast we've done. Want to say, like, Mike, thank you for always being an open book. A huge part of like why I felt so at home when I joined Whissel was some of the OGs. I mean, I think there was only like 15
Oh yeah, we had like
agents
less than
or
20
so,
back then. Yeah,
and now we have over 100.
like 110.
Yeah.
Dude, it's bananas.
And it's
I know you guys. I don't know anybody else.
I used to make a point of like, I'm gonna introduce myself to everybody that comes in. Like, I'll know your name in 6 months. See if you're still here.
If you're here,
Yeah.
then we'll hang out.
Yeah, I'll find out who you are.
100%, dude.
So it makes me feel so at home at Whissel. Like you're a huge part of that. So just again, thank you. Like I think this is gonna open a lot of doors for people to just realize, like, let go of your ego, role play, go to open houses and find Jody Lee Kim,
Jody Lynn.
Jody Lynn Kim,
Who's
And
rad, by the
work
way.
on your skills.
and work on your sales skills. Like,
Yeah, 100%.
go to the gym.
And go to
That
the gym.
too.
Go to the gym.
Wrestle.
Like, there's people that talk about that shit where it's like you need your mind right, your heart right, and your body right.
Yep.
Right? And there's some people like I'm not a religious man, but some people want to get their spirit right, and with that quadfecta, if you will. Find your 3, find your 4,
And pack it in every morning. That's why I wake up so damn early. Do it every day.
you don't have to wake up at 4:30 in the morning to do that.
Quarter till.
Find your tribe.
Yeah.
Like I work out every day, but not at 4:30 in the morning. But yeah, that's the thing is like take care of you because you can't take care of others if you're not right. So, yeah, this was fun, man.
Dude.
This was super fun.
Thanks,
Appreciate
man.
it, guys.
Dude,
Yeah.
love this.
Hell yeah.
That's
was
a
great.
wrap. We'll talk to you guys soon.